A pharyngeal consonant is a consonant that is articulated primarily in the pharynx. Some phoneticians distinguish upper pharyngeal consonants, or higher pharyngeals, pronounced by retracting the root of the tongue in the mid to upper pharynx, from epiglottal consonants, or low pharyngeals, which are articulated with the air epiglottic folds against the epiglottis in the lower larynx, and even epiglottopharyngeal consonants consisting of both those movements combined. Stops and trills can only be reliably produced at the epiglottis, while fricatives can only be reliably produced in the upper pharynx. When these are treated as distinct places of articulation, the term radical consonant may be used as a cover term, or people may speak of guttural consonants instead. In many languages, pharyngeal consonants trigger retraction of neighboring vowels, but in others they do not. Pharyngeals thereby differ from uvulars, which nearly always trigger retraction. For example, in Arabic, the vowel a is fronted to a next to pharyngeals, but retracted to next to uvulars, as in hial condition, with a pharyngeal fricative and a fronted vowel, versus Kyle, maternal uncle, with a uvular consonant and a retracted vowel. In addition to these consonantal sounds, consonants and vowels may be secondarily pharyngealized, and strident vowels are defined by an accompanying epiglottal trill. Pharyngeal consonants in the IPA. Pharyngeal, epiglottal consonants in the International Phonetic Alphabet. A voiced epiglottal stop may not be possible. When an epiglottal stop becomes voiced intervocalically into hollow, for example, it becomes a tap. Phonetically, however, voiceless versus voiced affricates or off-glides are attested. Although traditionally placed in the fricative row of the IPA chart, is usually an approximant. Frication is difficult to produce or to distinguish because the voicing in the glottis and the constriction in the pharynx are so close to each other. The IPA symbol is ambiguous, but no language distinguishes fricative and approximant at this place of articulation. For clarity, the lowering diacritic may use to specify that the manner is approximant, and a raising diacritic to specify that the manner is fricative. The Heidelberg dialect of Haida has a trilled epiglottal, and a trilled epiglottal affricate, place of articulation. The IPA first distinguished epiglottal consonants in 1989, with a contrast between pharyngeal and epiglottal fricatives. But advances in laryngoscopy since then have caused specialists to re-evaluate this position. Since a trill can only be made in the pharynx with the air epiglottic folds, and incomplete constriction at the epiglottis, as would be required to produce epiglottal fricatives, will generally result in trilling. There is no contrast between pharyngeal and epiglottal based solely on place of articulation. Thus Esling restores a unitary pharyngeal place of articulation, with the consonants described by the IPA as epiglottal fricatives differing from pharyngeal fricatives in their manner of articulation rather than in their place. The so-called epiglottal fricatives are represented here as pharyngeal trills, since the place of articulation is identical to h. But trilling of the air epiglottic folds is more likely to occur in tighter settings of the laryngeal constrictor or with more forceful airflow. The same epiglottal symbols could represent pharyngeal fricatives that have a higher larynx position than h, but a higher larynx position is also more likely to induce trilling than in a pharyngeal fricative with a lowered larynx position, because and h occur at the same pharyngeal epiglottal place of articulation. The logical phonetic distinction to make between them is in manner of articulation, trill versus fricative. Edmondson et al. Distinguish several subtypes of pharyngeal consonant. Pharyngeal, epiglottal stops and trills are usually produced by contracting the air epiglottic folds of the larynx against the epiglottis. This articulation has been distinguished as air epiglottal. In pharyngeal fricatives, the root of the tongue is retracted against the back wall of the pharynx. In a few languages, such as Amos of Taiwan and perhaps some of the Salishan languages, these two movements are combined. with the air epiglottic folds and epiglottis brought together and retracted against the pharyngeal wall, an articulation that's been termed epiglotto-pharyngeal. The International Phonetic Alphabet does not have diacritics to distinguish this articulation from standard air epiglottals. Edmondson al. use the ad hoc and somewhat misleading transcriptions in H. There are however several diacritics for subtypes of pharyngeal sound among the voice quality symbols. Although upper pharyngeal stops are not found in the world's languages, so far as is known, they do occur in disordered speech. Distribution. Pharyngeals are known primarily from three areas of the world. In North Africa, in the Semitic, Berber, and Cushitic language families, in the Caucasus, in the Northwest and Northeast Caucasian language families, and in British Columbia, in Haida and the Salishan and Wakashan language families. There are scattered reports of pharyngeals elsewhere, as in Sorani and Kurmanji Kurdish, Marshallese, the Nilo-Saharan language Tama, the Siouan language Nakoda, and the Californian language of Chumawai. In Finnish, a weak pharyngeal fricative is the realization of h after the vowels, or a in syllable coda position, e.g., tarati, star, but this is mere allophony. The approximant is more common, being the realization of r in such European languages as Danish and Swabian German. According to the laryngeal theory, the Proto-Indo-European language might have had pharyngeal consonants. The fricatives and trills are frequently conflated as pharyngeal fricatives in the literature. Such was the case for Dahalo and Northern Haida, for example, and is likely to be true for many other languages. The distinction between these sounds was only recognized by the IPA in 1989, and was not well investigated until the 1990s.